All right, genetics. This is genetics test cross. We are going to look at the problem about dogs. So, in dogs, there is hereditary deafness caused by recessive gene small d. A kennel owner has a male dog that she wants to use for breeding purposes. If possible, the dog can hear, so the owner knows his genotype is either DD capital or capital D small d. If the dog's genotype is capital D small d, the owner does not wish to use him for breeding, so the deafness gene will not be passed on. This can be tested by breeding the dog to a deaf female. Draw the Punnett squares. All right, so let's work on this in the sense of the legend. We're knowing that the small d is recessive. Small d is recessive. I'm going to go with this. Small d is recessive, and that means they are deaf. So the capital D means they can hear. That's the legend. So that's going to be the legend for both. The parents, if I want to do two different crosses, so I know that the female is going to be a small d, the male, we're not sure. So we're going to try and find out the genotype is either the DD or big D, little d. Let's do the cross. So big D comes from here and it goes over there. The small d's go here. And then we just make sure the crosses, the boxes fill in. So genotype possibilities, you've done this before. You know it's either the homozygous dominant, heterozygous dominant, or homozygous recessive. Okay? So that's the possibilities, and it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 100% heterozygous dominant. 0%, 0%. What are the possible phenotypes? Going back to our legend, they can either hear or they are deaf. Well, we have can hear, and that would be 100%. All of them are carriers, but they would still be able to hear. And deaf would be 0%. Okay? All right, but on the next one, do the same thing. We're going to fill that in. So this is capital D, small d, small d, small d. Do the cross, D, small, capital small, 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 small. And same with that, possible genotypes. They're going to be the same as above. Either homozygous dominant, heterozygous, homozygous recessive. Okay? What's our percent here? It looks like 50% will be heterozygous and 50% will be recessive. What will that look like? %50 will be able to hear, and then on the deaf you will have 50% will be deaf. Okay? That is the answer to the first question.